Shalom, shalom. This is Kaparia, a.k.a. Pops, out of GMS Chicago, with another sit down. Before I get started, though, like always, I want to send all praises, honor, and glory out to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Kakodash, to the apostles and elders of GMS out of New York that I learned this from, at the elder bishops out of Connecticut, and the apostles down in Texas and send double honors because they do rule well. For the brethren around the world, pushing this truth uncut, unfiltered, giving you the good, the bad, and the ugly of the scriptures, correctly breaking down the prophecies and the interaction with the people on the planet. Declaring wanted, I send salutations. For the hopeful elect, I hope this is edifying. For the aquath, the few and the true that's listening, so say it in charity, keep doing so. But for the squalor scoff, for reprobate 2/3 Israelites and 17 other nations of people that are out there that's in the midst of Jacob's trouble, it's going to get a whole lot worse. Okay, when we're out there teaching and things of this nature here in Chicago, sometimes we get somebody that'll come up and say, well, you know, blacks were selling blacks into slavery and things of this nature and blah, blah, blah. And we're giving a definition and giving an understanding and going to Joshua, the 12th chapter, and read through that and show that actually Yahweh Shai had gave Joshua marching orders to march down and in getting the land that Moses hadn't secured for the Israelites. Joshua marching orders was basically to march down on 31 Hamite kings. I ain't gonna call them African Hamite kings because Scipio Africanus is what the continent of Africa is actually named after. He's just a Roman general and things of this nature. So basically it was the land of Ham, or just Kibbut, which means hot. Anyway, so long story short, like I said, I'm gonna put a few scriptures here in this, that, and the other because of the fact that it says uh, um, we were selling each other into slavery. Now, we wasn't selling each other into slavery. Africans were selling Israelites into slavery. But that's not to say that here in America, Israelites didn't own other Israelites. Okay? They did. Okay? That's the truth. It's not a fallacy. And that's what you see me having pulled up here. Did black slaves own black slaves? Okay. And it says a brief history of slavery you didn't learn in school. Black masters, the ownership of slaves by free people of color. Okay, this is the University of Massachusetts in Boston. Okay, free blacks in the antebellum, the African American Odyssey, things of this nature. Okay, so I'm gonna put some scripture. I'm gonna read through some of this, and I'm gonna put some scriptures on it. Okay. Okay, so let's pull this up. I'm gonna read some of this. Uh, Matter of fact, let me bag out some. Let me bag out one of these. Okay, that actually I want to start reading here. By M.O. Bagola, 2020. Not only did they own slaves, but in some instances, they harshly disciplined, and one school of thought argued that African American, let's see, let me see. Okay, It says the ownership of slaves by free people of color in the antebellum South, 1782. So you can see where I'm at. Recommended citation. I'm gonna light it up a little bit so you can see it. Okay, that's what I'm reading right now. Uh, by free people of color in the antebellum South. Okay, 2020 graduate master's thesis. Okay, so this is a graduate master thesis. So this is a thesis. This is a paper that somebody wrote, uh, uh, um, trying to get, I guess, a master's degree or whatever it might be. Okay, this, that, and the other. Okay, so now um, I'm gonna read through some of this here, and then I'm gonna go back. Uh, Black masters. It is difficult that I'm starting at abstract. Black master. It is difficult to digest, but numerous records indicate that thousands of free people of color in the antebellum South did in fact own slaves. Not only did they own slaves, but in some instances they harshly disciplined and sold their slaves. In other instances, they treated them well and ultimately freed them. How and why they acted as they did was bound with the reasons why they became black masters in the first place. Scholars initially focused on two main interpretations for decades until recent scholarship revealed a more complex antebellum South society. One school of thought argued that African American, which we know this is Israelites, like I said, because we're neither African, because first of all, like I said, the name itself doesn't indicate anything because that's just Scipio Africanus, which is a Edomite general of Rome back in the day. Okay, uh, and and things of this nature. Okay, and we're not American because of the fact that, like I said, America is just a name. Uh, you got Scipio Africanus and America Vespucci. So America is named after America Vespucci, which was a Portuguese or Spaniard philanthropist. Okay, slave owners were motivated. Uh, American slave owners were motivated by ties of family or friendship that were essentially benevolent. There were persons of spouses, children, parents, siblings, or friends in danger of being sold into a worse situation. In other words, they were well intentioned. They well that they were well intentioned would be emancipators. If they were not well intentioned, would be emancipators. Then they must have been race traders, and equally or more morally corrupt than white slave owners. So you either had one trying to keep somebody from going into a worse situation, or not caring and just going for the profit, have something else. These words, this research reveals another interpretation that has not been explored due to scholars' tendency to overlook the nuances found in the lives of individual ex-slaves. Especially the focus of this research is not on the phenomenon of black slave holding, but how black individuals whose lives were intertwined with white slaveholders created cultures that led to their transformation into black masters once they themselves were free. Okay, you got comments and everything else, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so it happened. Okay, you had Israelite owning Israelites. Okay, once they became free for however reason that an Israelite was and whatnot, he might have bought some people in one thing and this, that, and the other, and blah, blah, blah. But that's not nothing new. Okay, that's not nothing new. You see, people don't want to deal with that fact or whatever because of all the emotion that can be fired up in the process of. But that's not nothing new. Let's go and deal with this. Okay, first of all, uh, let's go over here to, where do I want to go with this first? Let's go to Leviticus 25 and 25 and 38. It's going to be quite a read, but this is how we're just going to deal with it. Okay. I am Yahweh, your power, which brought you forth out of the land of Egypt. Okay. So now these are the laws that's being given down and whatnot. And this is Leviticus. So, these people that were just brought out of Egypt, he's laying the law down to them. I am Yahweh, your power, which brought you forth out of the land of Egypt to give you the land of Canaan. Okay. The land of Canaan. So now Canaan is a Hamite, is a descendant of Ham. Okay? So the Canaanites are that. So he's going to give them the land. Okay? So Joshua marching orders were on point according to what Yahweh Shai had deemed that was going to happen anyway. Okay? Okay? And if thy brother that dwelleth, and okay, give you the land of Canaan and to be your power. Okay, personal pronoun, like Malcolm liked to say all the time. He's the God of everything, but he's got a particular chosen people that he deals with. Okay, that is closer to him than the other nations, because the other nations are as spittle to him. Okay, and if thy brother, if you can go into the apocrypha, okay, and Ezra and read that. And if thy brother that dwelleth by thee be waxing poor, okay, now this is the law as it's being laid down. And if thy brother that dwell by thee be waxing poor, so if you got somebody, because like I said, you got to remember now, these are Israelites. They came from the 12 sons, okay? And these 12 sons had went into Egypt as I think a total of like 70 people total. Okay, 66 to 70 people total, and they came out as with a count of like just 600,000 men, not counting the women and children when they left Egypt. Okay, so thy brother, so these basically would all be, relatives, could be distant relatives and whatnot, but they all go back to these 12. Okay, and it's that and other. So okay, so it is what it is. Okay, but if thy brother that dwelleth by thee be waxen poor, and be sold unto thee, thou shalt not compel him to serve as a bond servant. Okay, so if thy brother that dwelleth by thee be waxen poor and be sold unto thee, thou shalt not. So you got somebody, like I said, let's say what we just read. So saying what we just read in the breakdown of what I read earlier. If a Edomite slave owner, white slave owner, owned a slave and he was an Israelite, and you as a free slave that can own people now, okay, back then was to be able to buy him. There's a way you're supposed to deal and treat them. But as you can see, some of them did and some of them didn't. Okay, so now, but as thou shalt not compel him to be as a bond servant, a slave servant. Okay, you ain't gonna treat him like that. You ain't gonna do him like that. But as a hired servant and as a sojourner, he shall be with thee and shall serve thee until the year of Jubilee. Okay, so he go work for you until the year of Jubilee. So whenever Jubilee comes around, whatever, Jubilee is like a 50-year period. And whenever that comes around, so wherever that is in that time frame of when Jubilee is coming up. Okay, let's say you bought them and Jubilee is coming up the next year. When Jubilee comes up, you got to free them. Okay, got to free them, even though it's only a year before it, and you only owned them for a year, and you may not even get all your money back from what it is that you paid, or this, that, and the other. One, you can't work them hard. You can't work them with vigor and whatnot and all this other stuff. I'm gonna read all that. Okay. Okay. 41. And then shall he depart from thee, both he and his children with him, and shall return unto his own family, and unto the possession of his father shall he return. For they are my servants, which I brought forth out of the land of Egypt. They shall not be sold as bondmen. Thou shalt not rule over him with rigor. Rigor. That word rigor. Uh, uh, you know, let's just look it up. Let's go to the other. Let's go over here. This is Leviticus 25 and 43. Let's go over here so you can see what that is. Leviticus 25 and 43. Leviticus 25. We'll scroll down to 43. Pull this up. Go to the interlinear so you can understand what rigor is. With rigor, H6531.
Strong's H6531. Perech. Perech.
Perek. Perek. Okay. Perek. Perek. Okay. Okay. Harshness, severity, cruelty. You're not gonna be harsh to them. You're not gonna be severe with them, and you're not gonna treat them with cruelty in the process of. From an unused root meaning to break apart, fracture, i.e., severity, cruelty, rigor. You're not gonna break his family up. You're not gonna do all these things, which is what this Edomite did time and time again. This is what they was known for. They showed you that. Apostle Gabar just did a sit down where he was talking about Kidsey or whatever, and how her family was broken up. And this, that, and other. You saw that in the movie 12 Years a Slave, when the bedchamber female that was picking more cotton than most men at 500 pounds, when her child was sold, and how she was so sad, and how the guy that had been a free man had been made a slave, the violinist guy and whatnot, and how he had been made a slave, and how he wanted her to stop all that crying and whatnot, and this, that, and other. But she had lost her child. She was supposed to lament. She was supposed to be in mourning. She was supposed to hurt. Okay? That was a punishment. Punishment is supposed to hurt. That was a punishment that was laid on our people. Okay? Period. All right. So let's go back over here. Okay. Thou shalt not rule over him with rigor, but shalt fear thy Yahweh. Both thy bondmen and thy bondmaids, which thou shalt have, shall be of the heathen that are round about you. Of them ye shall buy bondmen and bondmaids. And see, this is what's going to be happening in the kingdom. Okay? This is what's going to be happening in the kingdom. See, you read that, or you see that, or you get some of these guys to come up here and they be on that Kemet shit and all this other kind of stuff, and you hear this, and if you ain't versed in these scriptures and understanding in the process of, that could be a snare. It could throw you for a minute. Okay? But this is the whole purpose of making a call and an election sure, being able to not be ashamed, being able to break down what it is that's coming your way in the process of, and these types of things, and having an understanding. And sometimes the understanding will come and you won't even know that it's there, that you got it. Sometimes. I've watched Benji pull this all the time. Okay? What the Lord will reveal because he studied. the Lord will reveal what it is. And I'm talking about this was early when we was all in the truth together and whatnot. Benji might have been in like maybe 2 years when I came in. He's been in about 14 years, maybe 15 years. I've been in about 12. But the guy came up with something and boom, the Lord revealed it to Benji right there on the spot. Okay? So it is what it is. Both thy bondmen and thy bondmaids, which thou shalt have, shall be of the heathen that are round about you. Of them shall ye make bondmen and bondmaid, bondmen and bondwomen, slave man and slave woman. Okay, you can rule them with vigor. That means you can be cruel and whatnot to them. And that's what this Edomite was to us. Okay, and he still is. We're still being gunned down in the city, in the streets, even as we speak. Okay. Moreover, the children of strangers that do sojourn among you, of them shall ye buy, and of their families that are with you, which they begat in your land, and they shall be your possession. And ye shall take them as an inheritance for your children after you, to inherit them for a possession. They shall be your bondmen forever. But over your brethren, the children of Israel, ye shall not rule one over another with rigor. 47. And if a sojourner or stranger wax rich by thee, okay, this is that, okay, and thy brother that dwelleth by him wax poor and sell himself unto the stranger or sojourner. Excuse me. I lost my place there for a minute. Let me see, where am I at? Excuse me, I know it's by thee. By thee. Let me see exactly where I'm at. I was cut off. So okay, 47. Okay. Until the stranger or sojourn by thee, or to the stock of the stranger's family. So let's read 47 again. And if a sojourner or stranger wax rich by thee, and thy brother that dwelleth by him wax poor and sell himself unto the stranger, or sojourn by thee, or to the stock of the stranger family. After that, he is sold, he may be redeemed again. One of his brethren may redeem him, okay? Until either his uncle or his uncle's son may redeem him, or any that is nigh of kin, close to him, unto him of his family may redeem him, or if he be able, he may redeem himself. And he shall be reckoned with him that brought him from the year that he was sold to him until the year of Jubilee. And the price of his sale shall be according to the number of years, according to the time of a hired servant shall it be with him. Okay. If there be yet many years behind, according unto them, he shall give again the price of his redemption out of the money that he was bought for. And if there remain but few years until the year of Jubilee, then he shall count with him, and according unto his years shall he give him again the price of his redemption. And as a yearly hired servant shall he be with him, and the other shall not rule with vigor over him in thy sight. Okay? If he be not redeemed in these years, then he shall go out in the year of Jubilee, both he and his children with him. So see, that we didn't break up families and things like that. So when the man left, his kids and whatnot came with him. For unto me the children of Israel are servants. They are my servants whom I brought forth out of the land of Egypt. I am Yahweh, your power. Okay? So there was a rule. We had rules to govern ourselves. We've got rules that are going to govern us in the kingdom. and these types of things. But this man, this Edomite, he doesn't know how to rule the planet. He doesn't know how to rule himself. Hell, the scripture says if he's evil to himself, he has no way to know how to do good. Okay? Like I said, I'm going to wrap this up with one more scripture. I'm going to go down here to Galatians. Okay? Because you see, this is all about redemption and being redeemed, and the only people that's going to be able to be redeemed, okay, the only people that's going to be redeemed in the kingdom is going to be the kingdom to come is going to be the elect, okay. These 2/3 and whatnot, they got to go through their pain and suffering and these types of things here because they don't want to understand this word. They don't want to get this word on this side right now. Why the green tree and why the Lord's got his hand extended. How's he extending his hand? Because he has his prophets, the servants, his prophets, come out to the highways and the byways and the chief places of concourse and do this. Okay? And we preach all this stuff and we tell you about the snares and the stumbling blocks and everything else that's out here that you all don't want to understand and don't want to get. So this is Galatians 4. I'm going to read these two, 4 and 5, and I'm going to call it a day there. But when the fullness of the time has come, Yahweh sent forth his son, made of a woman made under the law, to redeem them that were under the law, that we may receive the adoptions of sons. Okay? The adoptions of sons. So, to redeem them that was under the law. Okay? So the Israelites are the only one that can be redeemed from the law. The election is the only one that's going to be redeemed because they're going to put on heavenly bodies as the elect, and then the children that they're going to have, that the women going to birth for them, are going to all be put into the right mindset with the right bodies and these types of things. Because everything is immoral and corrupt now, but in the Israelite, the future kingdom, the Israelite is going to be without sin because he's going to be programmed. He's going to be like the computer that's been programmed that all it knows how to do is the right thing. It don't know how to do the wrong thing, but it's going to have the knowledge of the wrong thing and that it did the wrong thing and what was the consequences of the wrong thing. Going against these laws, statutes, and commandments. That's the wrong thing. These other kingdoms are going to have to learn it the hard way and then be governed by these laws, statutes, and commandments, these 613 laws, statutes, and commandments that we were given. They're going to be governed by it. So I hope that's edifying for you to know that, like I said, these snares that are out here and whatnot, but at the same time, like I said, the whole thing started off as our people. Let me have it come back up. Our people, black masters, the ownership of slaves by free people of color. Okay? Which was a question that I formed it. Did black slaves own black slaves? Because it did happen. So, it's not a light question. We don't sweep it under the rug. We deal with it. And if somebody come up and got that question and they patient and let us go through all the forms of it and all the scenarios of it, we'll walk all these things down through the scriptures. This is what we do. So I hope that's edifying. I want to send all praises, honor, and glory out to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Kakodash, to the apostles and elders of GMS out of New York. Again, double honors because they do rule well. For the brethren around the world pushing the truth uncut, unfiltered, give you good, bad, and ugly. The scriptures correctly break it down, the prophecies and interaction with the people on the planet, declaring warning, salutations, hopefully elect. Again, like I said, I hope that's edifying. The brethren out there declaring war on the planet, again, salutations. The first group of Hardy Shalom, the 2/3 Israelites and 17 other nations who are in the midst of Jacob's trouble. You're going to know, the 2/3 are going to know about death by pain. And the heathen nations are going to get to understanding death by pain and then have to go through that for 1,000 years of hardcore slavery, where the Edomite is then going to be eradicated off the planet of the earth, and we're never going to have to look at reddish, pinkish flesh again. So for the first group of Hardy Shalom and the second group of Barbara Ball.